The topic that we have given here is that success is not determined by talent and hard work alone. Looks and appearances play a major role. Now, this is the topic given to you, and if you start your discussion, now we would be discussing this particular video not from that perspective but from group discussion perspective. And you please understand that VAT and group discussions are two different things, but the principles on which they are based are almost the same. In that, you are expressing your thoughts in the right language. In group discussion, you are basically speaking with people and you are providing arguments and counter arguments. Now, a speaker, the person who starts the discussion would say basically that, now here he makes the first point that while I do agree that looks and appearances do play an important role in enhancing your self confidence and improving your self esteem when you are in your teens or in early adolescence, in the longer run, their psychological importance seems to wither away. So, straight away, he brings a point. He says that, yes, I do agree that looks and appearances do play an important role in enhancing your self confidence and improving your self esteem when you are in your teens or in early adolescence. But he says, in the longer run, their psychological importance seems to wither away. That is, it seems to go away. Now, this is an opinion, and more or less, if you are giving this opinion, you must back this opinion with some kind of example. And he further says that before discussing this topic any further, we must cautiously define the meaning of appearances and looks. Because what do you mean by appearance and looks? By looks, I mean, do you mean beautiful face or sharp features or a well-defined jawline, a tall stature or a pair of beautiful eyes, or a combination of all these features? And then I think appearance goes beyond the symmetry and features of the face. There are the intangible aspects of our personality, such as power to speak persuasively, the fearlessness and the willpower that emanates from our eyes, the kindness and the amiability that is there on our countenance, or the vibes of the moral character that speaks through our face and posture. So the authors basically says that, well, the topic says that that success is not determined by talent and hard work alone. Looks and appearances play a major role. So what do you mean by looks and appearances? I mean, do you really go by the outward appearance of your face or your personality, or do you go by the inner things that those outward appearances convey to us? And what exactly do you mean by success, first of all? So here he says basically that we must first define the meaning of the word appearance. What do we mean by appearance? He says, do we mean by appearance beautiful face, sharp features, well-defined jaw, a tall stature, beautiful eyes, or a combination of some or all of these features? And then he says, I think appearance does not necessarily mean these things. It could also mean basically the intangible aspects of the personality that these appearances convey, right? And then he gives very good example. He says that the intangible aspects of our personality, such as the power to speak persuasively, the fearlessness and the willpower that emanates from our eyes, the kindness and the amiability that is there on our countenance, or the vibes of the moral character that speaks through our face and posture. So he basically says that it is not the physical shape and the size that matters. It is basically what is the inner nature of the person that speaks through the face. That's why many a time, even if there is no remarkable quality in the face of a human being, we are very much impressed by the person. Why? Because of the moral character, or because of the strength that person basically conveys or communicates to his listeners or to his audience. And he says, I think it is not the features and the symmetry and the color of the skin that defines appearance. It is rather the moral, the intellectual, and the emotional qualities that are veiled in our appearances that define our appearances. And it is in these qualities that through our outward appearances, people unconsciously perceive and are moved and touched by. So he says basically that though people use the term appearance, though people use the term looks, it is not exactly in the physical sense that they use these terms. When they say that the appearance or the looks actually actually play an important role, it is basically the emotions, the things that lie behind those appearances that play an important role. Moreover, what we are basically missing is that you don't simply look at a person as a static entity. When you are assessing someone, you always go by his dynamism, and dynamism is just not about appearance and looks. There is something beyond that. And also the author has mentioned in the next paragraph, if we go by the outward appearances and looks of successful people, we shall see that they all have different levels of outward appearances, different color, and fall into a wide range of different personalities. Now, for example, you may take many of the politicians, many of the successful leaders from the world of business, many of the great writers, many of the great scientists, artists. You will find that they all have different appearances. Some are good, some are ordinary, some are below ordinary, and yet they all have been categorized as successful people. So the author says, moreover, and the second point he says, moreover, appearances and looks are subjective opinions. That means basically what is beautiful to me may not be beautiful to you. And it varies from culture to culture and from place to place and from race to race. To say that success to a great extent is defined by appearances and looks would be tantamount to placing too much importance on subjective opinions of people. So there are many points that have been mentioned in the entire discussion. The first thing that the author mentions is that yes, fine, they do play some important role, particularly to people when they are in their teens or in early adolescence. But as we mature, as we grow, their psychological importance tends to fade away. So the importance that you give to appearances and looks when you are a teenager is far greater than when you basically are in your let's say middle age. And then he says, secondly, is really appearance technically literally appearance, or it is something beyond that? And then he gives examples of all things, and he says that our appearances and our looks convey they communicate about the inner person that is there inside us. They bring out the inner person inside us. And secondly, man is not a static figure that keeps on staring in the face. He is basically dynamic. He has to speak, he has to express, he has to act, and in that case the appearance and the looks often change. So further he says that not all of us are sensitive to outward appearances to the same degree. As we grow in years, we realize that there is something far more elusive than the outward features of a man or a woman. Also, success, this is a very very important point. Success in itself is such a broad term and varies so widely from one sphere to another and from one person to another, that while in some areas such as cinema and modeling appearances might play a very important role, in many other such as art and business it may have nothing to do at all. So the author says that first of all, when you say that success is determined by talent and hard work, not by talent and hard work, but by looks and appearances, then basically do you mean it is success in any field or success in a particular field? So he says that in cinema or in modeling, success might be to a great extent determined by looks and appearances. But even in that case, I think talent plays a very, very important role. You must know how to act. Unless and until you get into modeling and there is no need for you to have any other talent, then in that case, yes, appearance looks might play a major role. And then he gives an example. He says that success is a broad term and varies so widely from one sphere to another and from one person to another, that while in some areas such as cinema and modeling appearances might play a very important role, in many others such as art and business it may have nothing to do at all. Then he says both Beethoven and Mozart, artists of very ordinary physical appearance, are worshipped and revered by millions of people even today, while many a good looking actors and actresses have been entirely forgotten. So whom would you call as successful? Is it Beethoven and Mozart, or is it the good looking actors and actresses who have entirely been forgotten? So if really looks and appearances had been very important, then people would not have been forgotten so easily. Again, we have a classic example. In group discussions, we always have to back whatever we have as opinion. We have to back those opinions by examples. Thus, I would say that appearance, so this can be the conclusion of the group discussion. So if you are concluding the group discussion, you would say, well, yes, I say that appearances and looks might infinitesimally means to a very, very small amount, almost negligible amount. He says, I would say that though appearances and looks might infinitesimally improve our personality, they can never play a major role in defining our success. Such a generic term as success varies from person to person and from domain to domain. In some, it may be of little importance, but in most it has no bearing whatsoever. So this is basically the conclusion. So how has the discussion gone? See, this is a monologue. If I were a participant in the group discussion, these are the points I would mention, and this is the way I would speak. If I were to start the topic, I would first introduce the topics by saying that success is a very broad term, and looks and appearances have different definitions for different people. So first of all, success in one industry may not be driven by the same factors as success in another industry. And the example comes out very beautifully that success in politics may be about your leadership, about your relationship, about your tact and diplomacy. Success in the world of science may be about intelligence, hard work, sincerity. Success in the world of business could be about different thing. Success in cinema, in some other domain might be of different thing. So the word success itself varies from one domain to another domain. So it is very difficult for us to generalize and say that success is determined not by this but by that. And secondly, yes, you might feel successful, you might feel great, or you might have great self esteem, which is not equivalent to success when you are a teenager or when you are in your early adolescence. But as you grow, you realize that basically your whole personality is something far more than looks and appearances. And then he says that, secondly, he says that looks and appearances is just not about the outward form and shape, it is about the inner harmony. So when we say that someone is really very pleasing, very good looking, we might also go by the sweetness, the way he behaves, the way he speaks, his manners. And it is quite possible that if we are very much impressed by those things and call that person as good looking or having a good appearance than someone who is dumb, not well mannered, and does not have the social etiquettes of how to behave in a public. In the entire discussion, first of all, I have defined success and I have criticized the whole topic by saying that success means different things to different people. It varies from one domain to the other, so we cannot generalize. And if at all looks and appearances do play a role, they play a role when you are in your teens, when you are in your early adolescence, and as you grow and mature, the importance seems to wither away. And then he gives examples of Beethoven, of Mozart, and then he says that it is subjective opinion. And then finally he says that, yes, I do agree that it might infinitesimally improve our personality. But what matters is basically what we are from within. So this is how the whole group discussion can go on. In this discussion also, if someone says, if someone is adamant on the point that no, looks and appearances unconsciously make us come to some kind of impression about others, it does matter, but that is all unconscious. What is happening unconsciously within us, it is very difficult to say the reasons behind those things. So if I look at someone and I'm unconsciously impressed by that person, it's quite possible it is only because of the outward appearance, or it is because of the many other factors that I am not conscious of. So this is how you must take a group discussion. And if this topic comes as a VAT, then you can include these points. If this topic comes as a group discussion, then you can put forward these points in the same